Hello, this is Dr. Reddy from Seven Oaks Pet Hospital, Wesley Chapel, Florida. I'm on my weekly Facebook Live. Again, this is Thursday, April 1st, noon time. So welcome back all. Thank you so much for all of you who've been joining this live session for almost a year, I think. And today I'm here for actually a pretty interesting topic, which is zoonotic diseases. And I've been asked from several of friends and clients and folks around to talk about zoonotic diseases in dogs and cats, which we have never spoken about it, and there are quite a few of them. Last time I spoke about leptospirosis, and today I have 4 or 5 of them, but I'm not sure if I would have time to cover those things. And again, thank you, Vanessa, for joining, and Bailey for joining this. Like I said, we'll be focusing, we'll start with first Lyme disease, and then we'll go to a ringworm disease, and then probably we'll do a giardia, and then roundworms and hookworms, parasites will go. So not many people know about Lyme disease in dogs being transmitted to humans, and that's the one we will talk about today. Lyme, how do dogs get Lyme disease? First of all, dogs get Lyme disease by a bite of a tick. It's called a deer tick. If a tick bites a dog and then the tick stays on the dog's skin and starts injecting their anticoagulant so they can suck on the blood, that's how they nourish. And thank you, Sandhya, for joining. And that's how they nourish the nutrients, and in that in that moment they actually transmit this bacteria, which is a type of a spirochete. Lyme disease is a bacterial disease and a type of a spirochete, which is called Borrelia burgdorferi. It's a little weird name, but it's an interesting name. And that's the bacteria. It's injected into the dog, and then the bacteria starts going into the system and then causes Lyme disease. So it's a tick-borne disease, and historically we don't see deer ticks in Florida, which has been nice, but it's mostly in the Northeast and upper Midwestern states, and now I think we're seeing some in Western states too. But because of the traveling happening so much between the states in the last 5, 6, 10 years, so we started seeing Lyme disease at our practice too. And we do test them as we see them. I would say probably thank you, April, for joining. 1 or 2 cases a year, I would say, we see those Lyme disease positive cases. And unfortunately, we don't want to see them, but that's what's happening. And those are the tick-borne diseases. We've been noticing it. And the question is, how do we prevent them? There are a lot of ways to prevent, and there are a lot of ways to prevent the disease in not only dogs, but also in humans too. Dogs, there is a vaccine available. It's called Lyme vaccine, which is pretty interesting vaccine. It's been available for a long time, and you can get your dog vaccinated against Lyme disease. But I think what I see a value in prevention is some type of a tick prevention. If we use that, then probably it's going to prevent the dog and the human too. So, because remember, again, this is a tick-borne disease, and people don't get it from dogs, but people can get from the ticks, and dogs can bring those ticks into the house. And then those ticks, when they bite humans, that's how they get disease. And Lyme disease has been spreading quite rapidly in human population in the last 5 years. I mean, I just looked at a CDC report. It's been underreported disease, but I guess there's a lot of prevalence is happening because of the lifestyles and everything these days. Dogs are sleeping with us in the same bed, and sometimes owners, we don't realize that, if they have a thick hair and fur, the ticks could be hiding somewhere, and then in the middle of the night, those ticks can come out if they are not on a flea and tick prevention. And there are a lot of flea and tick prevention out in the market, so I strongly recommend applying at least once a month on your dog's flea and tick if you're suspecting any ticks, and sometimes even treating your yard also helps. to keep the ticks away and fleas away too. But again, we have to focus on ticks only today, because tick is what causes Lyme disease in dogs, and then tick is what causes Lyme disease in people, humans. So in order to prevent that, I think dogs can get a Lyme vaccine, and plus on top of that, if they're on a flea and tick prevention, which comes with a flea, I mean, any tick prevention in the market comes with a flea prevention, which is a good thing. So if you can keep them on a once a monthly, we have flea and tick preventions, and we have once every 3 months flea and tick prevention. So you can choose whichever one fits your lifestyle. And also we have topical ones, and then we have oral chewable ones. So again, depends on what your preference is and your dog's preference is. You can choose any of those products, and I recommend pick only FDA approved product, not to pick any EPA approved product, which is Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, which are not tested on dogs. So I would recommend strongly doing an FDA approved product. So that's how you can prevent a Lyme disease in dogs and in people. And that's, again, it is transmitted by a bite of a tick called deer tick. There are different kinds of ticks. There are 4 or 5 different kinds of ticks which transmit different diseases, but this is what I recommend, is to prevent the Lyme disease through a deer tick. The other disease we will talk about is ringworm. Ringworm disease in dogs and cats we see constantly, I mean consistently. Probably I would say in our practice we see maybe 3, 4, 5 a month, which is a pretty good number, I would say. I mean, I'd rather not see any ringworm. And there are 3 kinds of fungal. I mean, ringworm is a fungal, it's not a worm. Just to be on the safe side, I want to make it clear. Ringworm, though it sounds like a worm, but it's not a worm. It is a fungal infection. And fungal is another microorganism like a bacteria. So this ringworm is caused by there are 3 different ringworms which causes zoonotic. That means can be transmissible to dogs or cats to people. There's a Microsporum canis, Microsporum gypsum, and then Trichophyton. Those are the 3 different varieties which not all ringworms can be transmissible to people, but these are the only 3 ringworms diseases which can be transmissible to people, from pets to people directly. And most of the time what I see is when dogs have a ringworm, if it is a zoonotic transmissible to people, you would see inside the arms and inside the legs, you see those small reddish round spots. If you start seeing those, I mean, they could be allergies too, I can't say 100%, but just to be on the safe side, if you're seeing some spots on your dog or a cat, and then you're seeing some spots on yourself, I would go and get it checked by a physician or so, just to make sure that you don't have the ringworm. And again, ringworms is treatable in dogs and cats too. It's pretty simple and easy treatments we have, luckily, and in humans too. But I just don't want people to get exposed to it in case if the dogs or cats have, and try to take all the precautions as much as possible so you guys can prevent this happening. And ringworms, most of the time you see in younger pets, puppies or kittens, which are immunocompromised. And just to let you know, the ringworm, the bacteria, the fungal bacteria and mites, they all have a symbiotic relationship on any dog's skin. So because of some imbalance in that symbiosis is where we start seeing either, the mange or mites or bacterial infection or the fungal infection. So that is what happens there with the ringworm. And as I said, ringworm is treatable. We can definitely treat it, and it's very easy, and the dogs or cats recover 100% from ringworms. So the next disease we will talk about, I think we talked about Lyme, ringworm, and there was another one. I'm forgetting now. Anyway, or we can move on to the Giardia and roundworms and hookworms. Giardia is a parasitic disease, which is like a protozoal disease, I think everybody knows about amoeba as a protozoa, but Giardia is a type of a parasite. And then roundworms and hookworms are also parasites, which you can actually see with your naked eyes. Giardia, on the other hand, you can't see with your naked eyes. And that disease also transmissible to people from puppies if they're, I mean, not as often, but sometimes if they lick and your puppy has some roundworm or hookworm, they can transmit to you, but it's mostly the fecal oral route. If puppy has been pooping in the area and you see some eggs or sitting there, and by chance you have some contact with those eggs, then you can get those roundworms and hookworms for puppies. So that's why, I mean, at our hospital, at Seven Oaks Pet Hospital, we have a protocol or a policy that puppies, they do get dewormed every time they come in for 2 or 3 times as a puppy stage. And then most of our flea and tick preventions and heartworm preventions have these roundworm, hookworm preventions already built into it, so you don't have to worry too much. So we don't see that often roundworm, hookworms, but I would say we do see maybe once a month, in puppies having roundworms or hookworms. So you have to be very, very careful. Especially when you have puppies. Adult dogs, not as much of a worms, because if you keep your pets on flea and tick prevention and heartworm prevention, they do prevent not only those, but also they prevent hookworms and tapeworms. So I have from, okay, let me see if there's a question here. From Rajeshwari, Thor is tested positive for exposure to Giardia, but is not actively shedding cysts. Can you please explain this situation? Yeah, very good question. Good. A normal dog can have Giardia if you test their poop sample. And at that point, we don't do anything for those. We don't treat them as long as they don't have any clinical signs. So if we are testing their poop on a routine basis as a puppy, we do, and we don't find anything else other than 1 or 2 Giardia cysts, which is what probably sometimes we do. And the owner says, and the dog poop looks fine, owner has no concerns about poop, dog is doing great and everything. We would say, yes, your dog is positive for Giardia, so be careful with that, and then try to keep an eye on your dog for next a week or so. But a lot of times these are self-limiting, so 1 or 2 Giardia cysts are self-limiting. The immune system will clear it up. But if you see a lot of Giardias we are seeing, and your dog is showing clinical signs, then definitely we would treat your dog with for Giardia. So definitely at that point. But otherwise, if it's self-limiting and no clinical signs, we won't be seeing it. Sandhya had a question. Do you have any promotions on the preventatives? Yes, we do run a lot of promotions, and I can assure you that on preventatives, I know a lot of clients think that, when they buy their flea and tick prevention online, it's cheaper than us. But I can guarantee you that 100%, if you buy flea prevention from Seven Oaks Pet Hospital, we will be a lot more cheaper than any online pharmacy. NextGuard, HeartGuard, we are almost 70 to 80 bucks cheaper than online pharmacy, I'm going to say, with our promotions and everything too, and that's a good savings. And then the other products do the same thing. So yes, we've been running some promotions in-house, and they're always, we try to keep prices, look at the prices online and try to beat them most of the time, because the advantage if you buy from us is not only the cost you'll be saving, but also you get a better product, because the product is being stored at a air-conditioned temperature, because these warehouses, they store their temperature, the warehouse temperatures, they're always hot, and most of these FDA drug products have to be stored at a room temperature, which should be less than I think 77, 78 or so, whereas warehouses temperatures are a lot more higher, and then they shipped in these big trucks where they're not air conditioned and all those things too. So again, coming back to Giardia and roundworm and hookworms, and also same thing with roundworm, hookworms, we sometimes see those worms in asymptomatic dogs, but when we do see that, we definitely do deworming for those pets. We don't wait until to clear up on its own. But Giardia, we sometimes do take a chance because we don't want to over-medicate if we don't need to medicate the pets, you know what I'm saying? So we want to make sure that we prevent the condition, but also try to take care of it without using too much of medication or too much of vaccination or too much of drugs and chemicals in the system, because these days that's what's happening. I think we are polluting not only the body, but we are polluting the whole environment. So and these type of educations, which I've been doing every week, should help you guys to understand how these diseases work and how you can prevent in your puppy, so that you can take those preventive measures or precautionary measures, so that we don't have to do the medications and they don't have to suffer through these diseases. So that's all the zoonotic diseases I have today. I feel like I'm still forgetting one of the diseases which I wanted to talk. I didn't write it down, but it was the Lyme disease, ringworm disease, giardia, and roundworm hookworm. I think that's pretty much 5 of the diseases. All right, please shoot me any more questions you have after we end this chart too. About the time, if you recollect any more questions, please let me know. But otherwise, we will see you with another topic next week, next Thursday at noon. Thank you so much for watching this, and enjoy your day. Thank you. Bye-bye.